Welcome to another episode of the Dentology podcast, where we discuss the business of dentistry. In this podcast series, we'll be discussing all the non-clinical aspects of dentistry, from goodwill values, finance, marketing, how to buy and sell a dental practice, mindset, through to where you can invest your money in team management issues. My name is Andy Acton, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Strevens. Let's jump straight into it. So welcome to the latest episode of Dentology, the Business of Dentist podcast. And today we're joined by Sandeep Kumar. Sandeep's a dentist, a multiple practice owner, and also creator of the MiSmile Network, which we'll find out a bit more about today. Welcome, Sandeep. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, Andy. And good to meet you as well, Chris.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sandeep. Thanks for joining us. Always good to meet new faces for me, I think, and to learn about stories.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a pleasure to be here.
No, we appreciate your time.
And looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of background. So I've got down, you came to the UK in 1999 after graduating in India as a dentist. You qualified with the GDC in 2000 and bought your first practice in 2003. So from this, you moved quickly. So were you an impatient kid? Have you always been like that?
Yeah, that's a good way to start, right? Yeah, you know, Andy, it's completely the contrary. I was so laid back as a kid.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
those days, my dad used to, wake me up in India, come on, to get your studies out of the way. And I used to have a comic sitting within my books. Never ever been thinking about anything other than just kids thing, really. Trying to get away with little possible. Yeah, absolutely. It all happened later on in the life.
But it's funny because you still have a very laid back demeanor. You're not one of those people that you see some people who are kind of like quite manic and almost hyperactive in how they go about things. And you strike me as somebody who's very considered and thoughtful. So perhaps you've still taken that element of yourself with you into your business life, but now perhaps there's a lot more drive. So where did that drive, when did it kick in?
I was going to say, Sandy, can I just ask, did you come to the UK on your own or with your family?
Yeah, good question, Chris. So let's start from India and then come to UK and then we'll talk about it, right? So it started born and brought up in India in a small village in Punjab. My dad figured out a way, and then he sent me to a boarding school in Maharashtra, which is about 36-hour train journey from Punjab, where I was born.
Wow.
And then from there, I went into dentistry in Maharashtra, seeing the lifestyle of big cities like Mumbai and all that. And once I done my BDS, I came back to Punjab, where my mom and dad were. And that's the only option I have to settle down. And, once you have seen, can you imagine living in London and then coming back and settling down in countryside?
It must have been like a culture shock for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it was. And I was just not getting anywhere, didn't know what to do. And one of the options Dad proposed is, why don't you get married? And Dad had a very good friend in UK. He was visiting India. Nothing planned, never thought about it. It was just a quick intro to this beautiful girl, who is my wife now.
Oh, wow.
And, we met a few times and things clicked. And we decided to get married. And I came here with Rita in UK. So it was just, looking back, I think it was a destiny. That's the only way.
The stars aligned by the sounds of things, isn't it? Wow. What a great story.
Yeah.
And so so as a result of getting married, you came to the UK, and was there a plan that sat with coming to the UK, or was it literally, I'll work that out when I get there?
Yeah, nothing at all, Andy. The biggest challenge I had is I couldn't speak English. When I tell people, and this, that is a fact, very, very limited English. I could not even pick up a phone and call GDC and say, here I am. I've got a graduation from India. What are my next steps? Poor my wife, those days, she had to go to work and then come back and, help me calling all these people at that time. I tried for a couple of months. I got really frustrated. I was just not getting anywhere. And I said, right, I had fed up of sitting at home. I'm just going to go and get some jobs. So I went to a job center one day, just walking out on a street, and I found I've got a job in a factory. So I worked in a factory for about 4 or 5 months at the start when I came to UK, and it was interesting, trying to speak to people, trying to understand what they're saying, how they're saying, and just the lingo of of the way they were communicating. So it was interesting days.
That's interesting, isn't it? It's like that when when they try and teach you, I don't know, whatever it used to be called, sandstone or something. I can't remember it. Those how to learn a language, and they would teach you conversational language of whether it be Italian, Spanish, French, whatever, because they said what you really want to do is to start with is to be able to have conversations with people, and that's probably a brilliant way of doing it. Actually, Sandeep, isn't it? You're with loads of people. You've got to have a conversation.
The best advice somebody gave me is to watch 6 o'clock BBC News.
Right.
They said nothing else. Don't speak to people because you'll never understand what they're saying. Watch 6 o'clock news. 6 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news. I never missed it. That became like my education center early days.
Wow. I know that I don't know if it's still the case, but in Denmark, it used to be law that you had to broadcast whichever television program was made in its original language. You had to broadcast it in that language. You weren't allowed to subtitle or dub anything. Wow. And that was effectively part of their national curriculum for teaching English. Because they said the majority of television in the world, it's built in English as the first language. And in Denmark, they just said you have to broadcast it in the language it's made in. And that means that all the young kids wanted to watch television. And that's how they learned English. And it's interesting because when you speak to lots of Danish people and they speak English, quite often there's a slight American twang.
A US twang.
There's a little US twang because they've obviously heard lots of American TV programs. I don't know if it's still the case, but that was as it used to be, which was quite interesting.
Well, this is the beauty of this discussion, right? We're all learning something new.
Exactly.
I didn't know about this at all.
So for you, I guess, whilst you kind of left your family when you came to India and you got married, family is obviously important to you. I saw you were saying about your wife. I saw it was your 24th wedding anniversary recently, and you spent some time in London. Your wife, obviously, when you came over, you both came over with nothing, and you've built from there. So she's obviously a force in all you've done as a stakeholder in the business. Is that something that kind of goes back through your family line? Has that always been important that the family pull together?
Oh, 100%. Even when I was there, I was born in India. We had, it was a huge family. So my dad had 5 brothers, their wives and their kids. So there was about 50 of us living in this little street. And, there was never a lone moment in your life. And then I turn up here and, my wife is the only person I know here in UK.
Yeah.
And
that must be quite difficult because so she was from England and you were from India. So that must have been quite an interesting one because obviously different cultures. So not only are you trying to get used to a UK culture, is she trying to get used to you as a goer from an Indian culture? So is that? It just sounds fascinating.
The biggest positive was that we both were from a similar background. So her dad was from Punjab. Right. From the area where I was born in. So the culture and the values and the family values and, our roots and there was lots of similarities.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Mm. So just moving on to the business side of things, you started the MiSmile Network back in 2015, but could we perhaps just have a little potted history of what happened from when you bought your first practice in 2003 up to 2015? Because then we can pick up on the MiSmile Network from there, but it'd be nice to know all the things that went on before that, and that kind of laid those foundation stones for the MiSmile Network.
Yeah, absolutely. Briefly, so after the factory days, I end up going and start working as a dental nurse. So I worked as a dental nurse for 2 years. And, that was very difficult days, when you can work as a dentist, but you're not allowed.
Yeah, I can imagine.
One thing I did, that time was really understood how the dentistry works in this country. Even though I was sitting on the other side, I was just having lots of discussions with dentists and patients, just really trying to understand how this whole thing works. And then I qualified in 2000 with, so I had to do my exams, and I did my exam with GDC in 2000. And, Andy, I was coming to nearly 30 years of age, not a penny to my name, not a house to live in. And that time my wife got pregnant and we were expecting our first baby. So it's, I just decided, right, enough is enough, seen a lot in life. Let's try and go out there and express myself and see what happens. So you asked me a question at the start, was I impatient? I wasn't impatient, but I got to a stage where I was not fearful of anything. I was just not worried about anything. I think I've seen the lowest of lows in life, and what could be the worst than that? And that was it. So the practice where I started working as a dentist as an assistant, a couple of years after, I approached my boss, and he's still a very good friend, still a great mentor. And I just approached him, and he had another private practice where he was focusing more and more time. And it was just a discussion, what about if I buy this? And he said, why not? Then let's have a discussion. And that's how it happened. So I bought that practice in 2003. At that time, it was a two-surgery practice, and I was the only one who was working there. So between 2003 to 2006 was the critical time, you can say. So I worked extremely, extremely hard those days, 6 days a week, clinical dentistry, 7th day, managing the business.
What did you do on the 8th day?
I wish there was 8th day. Okay, let me tell you about this 8th day. I used to do emergencies on those days. NHS emergencies. And I could be literally, my phone was right next to me, and 12 o'clock, I'll come. So this is where my 8th day came that time. Yeah, but the benefit of working, extremely hard that time was then the UDA contract changed in 2006.
Yeah.
Within those 3 years, I tripled the size of that business. Then that changed to UDA. That practice became my backbone, really. But within those 3 years, you can imagine, building from 1 surgery to 6 surgery. I was very growth driven. It was just, adding dentists, surgery, staff members.
And back then as well, the way they established your contract value, the fact that you'd had great growth from 2003, 2006 meant you got a really good contract as well, because you'd already had the growth and proven it. So timing was perfect.
It is today one of the biggest contract in central Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I still on that practice. I still got it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And thereon, because I was so driven by growth, and then suddenly UDA contract came, and you can't grow, right? You got it, but you got. And then I thought, it's very easy for me to just find somebody and do my work. Let me go out there and explore what is outside of this one practice where I've been working 8 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's where, I went to London and went to see a couple of private practices, just really understood the private side of dentistry. In 2007, I set up a private squad in Birmingham City Centre. And that's where we will be meeting and in a couple of weeks' time. So in that private practice, at that time, the first time I heard about Invisalign, somebody from London came to the practice and said, hey, can I hire a room in your surgery for 1 day a week? I'll pay you a little bit of money, and I'll bring my nurse with me. I'll bring everything in my suitcase. I don't need anything from you. And I said, what sort of dentistry are you going to do? Bring everything in a suitcase. And that's when he told me about Invisalign. First time ever I heard Invisalign. Went on a course. I was free those days anyway. I started from zero. Only thing I was doing that time is yellow pages and a bit of metro advertisement. Internet never existed those days, right? And just started a couple of cases in 2007. Loved everything about it, how simple it was, how happy the patients was, how much support was behind provided by that company. Just never looked back. It was just one of those, you can say, light bulb moment, penny drop moment. Next year, I did 80 cases. Following year, I became diamond provider. And since then, I have not done less than 500 cases a year. It's just, and then the second practice became the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. So then I had clinics in House of Frasers in Birmingham, Manchester, Solihull. Then I won a couple of NHS contracts. So it just really rolled on from there. And so in 2014, that's when the MiSmile was born. And what happened was in their clinic in New Street in Birmingham, Align Technology was spending a lot of money at that time around brand awareness. So people know about so people were calling us and say, hey, can I book a consultation for Invisalign? And there was just a bit of, tipping points. Instead of people saying, oh, can I book an appointment for teeth straightening? they were saying, "Can I book an appointment for Invisalign?"
And if you get to that point where you own a word and a line, they do own the word for clear aligners. Invisalign has become, the word.
It's the Hoover.
And those days I just looked at this as a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I took a plunge and made the name of my clinic to MiSmile Invisalign only practice. And that was the first ever practice was in Europe, which was Invisalign only. Wow. And obviously, people in the line technology world, they heard about what I have done. And then they came to see me, and then we sat down and we started having a discussions where we go next. And this is where the MiSmile Network was born. So the root of MiSmile Network is helping other dental practices, other dentists to grow their Invisalign business. And MiSmile Network is built on a win-win-win strategy. So we got nearly 100 practices across the country who are part of the network. When somebody joins the network, we do everything for them. We do their marketing, we do their training, we help them set up their patient journey, we help them with their treatment planning, we help them to be commercially viable by giving them more discounts for becoming a part of MiSmile Network. And what happens after that is it's in our interest to make sure that these guys do more and more cases. So if they do a case, they are happy, Align Technology is happy, and more Align Technology is happy, it's better for MiSmile. So it is it's a win-win-win for everybody.
And typically MiSmile practices, are they practices that have had their eyes open to what Invisalign can do for their business? They've kind of plateaued and they want to get to the next level, or are they practices who have yet to integrate Invisalign into their practice and need a partner to help them do it, or is it a mixture?
So in Invisalign world, there are different types of categories of people. So I would class as expert, right? Because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There are two types of people. One are occasionals and one are engaged. So there are people who have done the certification, they are trained, they know what Invisalign is, they have done few cases, but they're occasionally doing one or two cases here and there, and there. Those are our target audience. We can work with those people and really help them to exponentially grow their business. There are about 5 or 6 dental practices who joined us about 5 years ago, doing 10, 15 cases a year, and now they have become diamond providers.
Wow.
That's impressive, yeah.
And then there are other people who are engaged, they are already doing 30, 40 cases, but they've hit a glass ceiling and they don't know where to go from there. And they reach out to us and we help them to grow.
And you said that when you did the first practice and you called it, your Invisalign only practice, and Align obviously cottoned on to this and came and talked to you. Do you know, was this a global first? Because obviously Align's a global business. Were there other dental practices doing this in other parts of the world, or was this literally the first time it had been done?
I may be completely wrong, but I am pretty sure that I was the first one in the world.
And have other countries now started to catch up? Is this happening in other places?
Yeah, there's lots of Invisalign focused practices now.
Right.
There's a practice in Hong Kong. I know they do about 1,000 cases a year.
Wow.
There's a practice in Vienna. Those guys are doing about 500-600 cases a year. So there's a lots of, by 2014, 2015 time, I had privilege and an opportunity to travel around the world with Invisalign. So I've spoken in Brazil, Mexico, Macau, and I get to meet all these people and really, understand. And, now we know Invisalign is a well-known consumer, global household name now.
I mean, for me, Sandeep, one of the things you sort of nicely glossed over, but I don't think you should have glossed over, and hopefully the listeners will hear it as well, is the fact of you said, well, you bought this practice, and then you sort of like you had you did some stuff in Harvey Nicks, and then you did some other stuff in stores and some other practices, and I just it's that thing of having that ambition and drive to do those things? Because yes, you seem to be laid back, but the answer is you were obviously focused in your laid backness. And I think it's brilliant for anyone listening in the fact of, you got to where you are. And I love the way you sort of went from 2003 to 2014 it was like, well, we did a bit of this and we did a bit of that. And I went into this and I went into that. Yeah. Because you spotted that opportunity and stepped into that space. And I think for anyone listening, that's the sort of thing, isn't it? If you see an opportunity, go for it. Don't wait for something to end up on your doorstep, because you did that in those, whatever's that, 2003 to 10, 11 years. You did stuff to create where you ended up with. And I wanted to come back to it because you sort of like passed it off as a bit of a backstory, but I think it's a really important thing for people to listen to.
I think the way that you tell it was a conscious decision to say, I wonder what I could achieve if I pushed myself and I did some things differently. I wonder where it would go. And obviously, as a result of that, some success came, and that brought on bigger success and pushed you off in another direction. And quite often, if you can have a little bit of success in one direction, it gives you that confidence to kind of keep pushing.
Success breeds success, doesn't it? I mean, and we can say from our point of view as valuers that we have seen some of the practices on the MiSmile Network, and it's made a significant impact upon their businesses. And it's almost like it's either like the worst kept secret or the best kept secret, because people, you sort of sit there and say, for goodness sake, why isn't other people looking at these opportunities when you think of the number of patients and opportunities they are? All they really need, I think you said, Sandeep, is you're there to give them a bit of help and unlock that potential that they might not even know they've got.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I completely agree with you. I go around and meet. So this morning I said I was at one of the MiSmile Network practice who joined us in the summer, and they are having a full day induction training with one of my team member. It boils down to one thing, right? Now, if you pick up, open Facebook, Instagram, there's just so many shiny opportunities. This aligners, that aligners, £100 cheaper, £200 cheaper. For me, it's always been a relentless focus on one thing. I'm not saying it got to be Invisalign, don't get me wrong. Find something which you enjoy, which you really feel proud that you're doing it, which helps you make money. If you can tick these three boxes, but the first two are even more important. You've got to enjoy what you do. And you've got to feel part of something. I'm making a difference. I'm trying to create something here, and the money follows. Money.
It's funny. We talked to some guys a little while ago, and we said exactly the same thing. If you get it right, money follows the event. You don't need to focus on the money if you get it right. Well, one of the things that I think challenges lots of practice owners, and you'll have the answer to this because you've been through the process, is very often practice owners find the constant challenge between, I need to be in my surgery, because if I'm not in there clinically working away, I'm not producing the revenue. But I can't grow my business because I'm spending so much time in my surgery with patients. And how do you kind of get yourself out of the surgery to spend time working on the business, because you're always working in the business? Obviously, you're now further away from clinical than lots of people because you've got your network and your group of practices. But how did that, going back to when you were the guy that was working in the surgery 5 days a week, working on the business 1 or 2 days a week and enjoying your 8th day off, how did you kind of get that twist from all those clinical days to reducing that to give you the capacity to grow the business? What did that look like?
Yeah, so around 2014, 2015 time when we started the MiSmile Network, that was probably the busiest time in my professional life, you can say. And I could see, where I was making a real impact. That was on hiring the right people, training the right people, managing the right people, instead of doing a clinical dentistry. And up to that time, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the clinical dentistry. And there was a significant event in 2016. I really messed up one of the treatment for my patient. My patient used to come to me, pay me tens of thousands of pounds, and expect me to do a fantastic service for them. And I'm sure you guys will understand this. I was completing a deal on one of the practice, And my phone was here. I was just waiting for a call from my lawyer to transfer the money. My laptop was open. And then on the side, I'm fitting a 10 veneers for this patient. And I messed it up. Luckily, I had a very good relation with the patient, and I apologized to her, and we got that right. But that made me think, this is not the direction. I can't justify they're doing this and that. And that's when, I made a conscious decision. And one of the things I do is I always disappear around Christmas time for a couple of weeks just to reflect on, where I am and what I wanted to do. And I had a bit of solid 2 weeks off that time and really thought about what I wanted to do. And I came back and I gave myself 1 year that at the end of 2017, I want to give up clinical dentistry. And I planned everything accordingly, went from 4 days to 3 days to 2 days, employed some great dentists, started introducing my patients to those dentists, and just make sure that, the patients were happy to see them. And by end of 2017, I hang up my drills and just been focused on running the business. The advice is, decide what do you want, right? There is nothing right or wrong. Having multiple practices is not the only way. If you want to build a lifestyle business, build that. There's nothing wrong with that. What people are getting confused is they want to do that and they want to build business, and they just get in this rut where they can't really express themselves in either this or either that. So it's about making a mind and having a roadmap, right? This is where I am in 3 years' time or 2 years' time. In my case, it was a 1 year. That's it. This is how it's going to look like. So have a plan, but there's nothing right or wrong. I've got associates working with me.
So true.
And do you think that lots of people are looking for inspiration ideas from other people and in effect copying somebody else's plan and thinking that's what they should be doing? Social media is full of these people that are having amazing success, and people are saying, "Oh yeah," rather than sitting down themselves with a bit of paper and a cup of coffee and saying, "Who do I want to be? What do I want?" They're looking at somebody else who's successful and say, "Well, I'll do what they've done," but that's not their plan. Is that a problem?
What a fantastic question, Andy. This is what's exactly where people are going wrong. I can sit here and tell you how I do my 500 cases a year. You cannot copy my techniques, my ways, and say it's a copy and paste and you can implement that in your. It's never going to work. Find a mentor, find what you want to do, right? Find a mentor who has walked on that path before you, who knows what they have, but what are the hurdles, what are the challenges you have to overcome, and work with them as their guide. They're not as a teacher, anybody. There's lots of teachers out there, right, who think that they know everything. Find a guide who's happy to hold your hand and be there for you when you need to make any important decision. It's just a phone a friend, this is where I'm stuck, Sandeep. What shall I do? And all you're doing is sharing idea and sharing opinion. And once you have done that, then you figure out your own way. And your personality, my personality, Chris's personality are completely separate. The way I'm laid back, but that does not mean, even my team tells me, Sandeep, there's a crisis outside and you're just chilling here like nothing has happened. I said, you think I am chilling, but right up there, it's working 10 times faster than you can even imagine.
It's the duck analogy, isn't it? Your duck looks very serene as it's on the pond, but it's paddling furiously, but nobody sees the paddling furiously.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just shouting and screaming and getting impatient about things, and I'm not saying that's a wrong way of running a business or that's a wrong leadership. But for me, it's not. Give me a situation, I'll walk away from that, I'll think about it, and I'll come back to you.
But also, I think if you spend the time to think about who you are and be comfortable with your own style, there's an authenticity that comes with it, and your team then know what they're getting. They know that if they come to you, you're not going to panic. You're not going to overreact. It's going to be a thoughtful, considered response. And that doesn't mean you don't care. It just means there's a style of thinking that isn't necessarily overly exaggerated.
I'll tell you one thing that I think Sandy said that is another thing that people should listen to, and it's very topical, is the fact to just reach out for someone, because you've got to sort of make that first step, haven't you? That sort of says, either where am I going? Can I have a chat with you? I'd like your opinion on something. But you have to originate it. Otherwise, because people don't know, because everyone's doing all right, aren't they? If maybe you're having a terrible moment, people might identify that. But in most cases, life is just normal, and people have no idea that you might need their input. And it's not that you're having a disastrous time, but the fact that they will just give you a different view. And I think, as Sandeep says, you just got to sort of say to someone, if it's your mate or someone, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? It's great advice. Great advice.
Going back to your veneer case, Sandeep, that sounded like it was a fairly defining moment in terms of which path you were going to follow, be it clinical or the business side of things. Now you're further down that path. Do you find the business side of dentistry more fulfilling than the clinical work that you used to do?
Good question. There is not right or wrong answer here, Andy. I don't want to say that, what I'm doing. I hear people saying, so maybe you're living a dream life. That's what I would like to do. Again, you got to decide what is right for you.
Yeah. So for you, put another way, do you miss clinical dentistry?
Do you miss it at all?
The only thing I miss is the communication.
Right. Okay.
Nothing other than that. Just that personal one-to-one connections, just that having that communication with unknown people at the start and working with them throughout the journey and seeing that wow at the end of on their face. That's the only bit I miss. I don't miss this drill and pill stuff.
I must admit, lots of people post kind of, their reveal. They used to be kind of reveal pictures, but now we get short videos on social media, and that they are quite contagious, aren't they? When you watch them, you do get drawn into it, and there is something amazing and special. We were saying about how incredible dentistry is it can impact people's confidence in themselves and how they look and how they project themselves. But when people turn the mirror around and they see the end result, there's no doubt it really does stop you in your tracks that dentists can have so much impact over somebody by looking after their teeth.
Oh, absolutely. We're changing people's lives.
Yeah,
definitely.
To have, having from somebody saying first time for a consultation and taking them through this journey over 3 months or 6 months and then seeing the end result. What can be more fulfilling than that, man?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Who inspires you, Sandeep? Because obviously you kind of taken this path yourself, and obviously lots of the people that would have been there in your younger years or in a different country. Who's kind of inspired you and helped you on your way?
I'm going to have to give you a little bit of background behind this. So when I initially qualified, I loved wearing the ties and jackets and carrying my bag with me, and that was like heaven. I always wanted to do that. Through somebody around 2011, 2012 time, I've got an opportunity to join one of the course called Business Disruptors. And there was a 12-month course. It only happened once, and it was in London. And it was organized by Virgin Group. It was all it was behind the scene, it was all Richard Branson's idea. But nobody knew that he is going to actually turn up at that event. And I still remember, I'm sure I posted something on my social media at that time as well. And, I saw that guy and I looked at him and, he's billionaire or whatever. What a nice guy. In the whole auditorium, I think he was probably the most simplest dressed man, white shirt, black jeans and his scruffy shoes. And he just came and sat on the stage and everybody's wearing ties and suits and Armani's and this and that. And this guy, he had about a £5 watch on him. And the way he was talking, and, it's just, I felt, it's the one thing he's successful. Success means what, right? Having money is a one form of success, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's successful. He's got right people around him. He's got family. He's got family values. I follow his son and his daughter as well. And he's created something where Yeah, money is there, but there's a lots of other things which define success for him. So I really, really enjoyed that program, and I was lucky enough to have be in the same room with him a couple of times during that year. And yeah, he has been there's no book which I have not read. I read his podcast, I read his blogs. I just I like the guy, how he goes about his day-to-day life, how he goes about his business.
And it's nice that that's based on a first-hand encounter. And I think that backstory was good because lots of people would cite Richard Branson as being somebody, but it would be kind of almost second-hand or from a distance. But the fact you did a program that was, curated by him and he was part of, gives you a much closer first-hand experience. So for the MiSmile Network, where's it going? What's it going to look like in 5-10 years' time? How's it going to shape up?
Yeah, so MiSmile Network is organically grown from 20 practices to nearly 100 practices now. So we are in our 7th year.
Wow.
And the most important thing is, I want happy people working with me. I don't have time. If anybody, there's a contracts and there's everything, but if somebody is not working for somebody, I'm more than happy for them to, look for alternatives.
Yeah.
So right now, where MiSmile is, and the biggest change which is going to happen from next year is I have never stood up on a stage and taught somebody about what to do.
Oh, right.
I've got a team of people, I've got a team of trainers, I've got a huge marketing team, I've got a huge clinical team who's been doing all this. So in last couple of months, I've been working with my team, and we're launching this program is Mastering Your Invisalign Business. And this is the first time ever I will be hosting and I will be doing those courses. And it's only for 10 people. It's only application only. It's got to be for driven people. And for me, in 7 years, 6 people have become diamond provider. For me, that is a real success. That's what makes me happy. If I can bring these people in a room and really openly, I've got nothing to hide. It's like, this is the way I look at this, right? People say, Sandeep, you're going to give your secrets away. I'm going to bring people into my Apex Diamond Clinic and show them how I do everything, how we do patient journey, what happens, how we interact with. And people say, Sandeep, aren't you worried that people will copy your idea and this and that? And my analogy is that, and really simple, you can have a personal trainer and you can read 100 books, how to build 6-packs.
You've got to do it yourself, haven't you?
You've got to do it by yourself. So I'm going to be there to guide you. I'm going to be there to help you. But if you are brave enough and if you are happy to implement what I tell you, I will be the happiest person because what I have taught you has helped you. There's enough out there in the world. There is enough to go around for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And also what you're doing, it is raising the bar in dentistry. It's uplifting the profession. It's uplifting the people that want to, follow the path that you're on and emulate what you've achieved in your practices. And like you say, it's not right or wrong. It's not for everybody, but for those that see it as being a way to develop their practice, it's a great model to follow. It's proven.
And for me, my reputation is everything. Right? I do not want, unknowingly I may do things wrong, which we can't control, but knowingly I will never hurt anybody. I will never go around and doing something which let me make as much money as I can from this, or I don't care what happens with that person or stuff like that. And part of MiSmile, which I'm really proud of, is that we work with Operation Smile.
Right.
So I went to Madagascar and I did a mission with them. So I wanted to see firsthand what's happening, if we're going to give them money, where that's going to do. And that was, a life-changing week for me to spend some time with the Operation Smile team. And, this year we have raised 100,000 collectively as a network for Operation Smile. And, in my lifetime, my mission is to raise up to £1 million for this charity.
That's brilliant.
I can't. There's no way I could have done this by myself. And this is where the power of community, this is where the power of working together comes in, is together we are stronger.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great message, and I think that's probably a nice way to wrap it up. To be honest with you, I think that's a really powerful message for people who are interested in getting involved, but also for the future of dentistry. I agree. I think that by everybody collaborating in some shape or form or other, it helps elevate and push the whole thing forward.
I think so. Because it's got to be for the benefit of all, hasn't it?
Yes.
Rather than the benefit of a few.
Yeah. We always wrap up and we always ask our guests the same two questions. So the first question we have for you is, if you could be the fly on a wall in a situation, and we've already spoken about a couple of personalities in the talk, but is there a situation that you'd like to be sitting in the corner of a room just watching it play out?
Yeah, I'm going to be really selfish here now, Andy. This is just purely me. So outside work and my family, I love Formula One.
Right.
Ah.
And I do not miss a live race. I've pretty much gone around the world and watched lots of races. And what really intrigued me is how a 20-man team can change those four wheels in less than 2 seconds.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
And if I ever get an opportunity, I would love to be standing outside Mercedes garage for those 2 seconds and just seeing that coordination. We watch on TV, I've seen lots of times, but I would love to have that opportunity to be able to see it.
I'll tell you what, we'll have a chat with our friend at Red Bull Racing and see if we can get you in. Because I hadn't realised, Sandy, they have a whole training suite to do that. That they got these bays which are set up exactly as they are at the race, and they just push the car in, then they go, there we go. We'll have a chat with them for you.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And like you say, in terms of that...
Things do come true, as they say, yeah?
but that thing about a fly-on-the-wall experience, yours is going to last probably either just below or just above 2 seconds, depending on how it goes. I assume you're also a fan of Drive to Survive then, on Netflix.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Never miss it. Never ever miss it.
Brilliant. Good. And then whether it's going to be related to that or not, I don't know. But our second question is, if you could meet somebody, if you could sit down and have dinner with somebody, who would you sit down with? And they can be, fictional, a real person, someone who's passed away, someone who's with us. Who would you like to have dinner with?
Well, I think I've already given you a hint. I am in awe about this guy, Richard Branson. Not because how much money he's made, not because how many companies he's got. I just love the way the one word I always see him and think is balance. How he managed to balance his family life, his physical health. He's a global personality, right? The whole world is looking. But I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard a bad word against that guy. Then if you do everything right, and he's made a shitload of money as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I'm not sure I've got any connections with Richard Branson, but Chris will try and sort out the Red Bull thing.
Yeah, let's try to see what we can do.
Lovely.
I've already seen him, but I would love to have a one-to-one dinner with him if you ever get more.
Yeah,
oh, absolutely.
Perhaps he'll invite you to his island.
These things, right? That's it.
You go to his island, Sandy. There we go. And you can, assuming he's still got it, unless he sold it to
I think
Funds Galactica or whatever it's called.
Well, we appreciate your time. It's been brilliant. It's been lovely to hear about how it all started, how you got to where you are, but also the excitement for the future of MiSmile Network as well. It sounds like it's in a great place with a lot more to come. And I think those 10 practices are going to get to spend time with you and get the inner workings of the things that have created the success you've had. I think that would be a great year for them.
I'm looking forward to when Sandeep does one of those big presentations, like there's 300 people in it, and he comes on with smoke, and it's you're going to be there, and it'll come out the floor or something.
Well, Chris, as long as I'm happy and I'm healthy, and people around me is happy, that excites me more than all the smokes and guns around. So guys, honestly, I don't know where these 45 minutes have gone. It's been seems like I know you guys forever. I was just having a discussion.
It's been good.
No, it's been a real pleasure, guys, and thank you for having me.
Not at all. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Keep well.
Stories are always brilliant, and it's lovely to hear yours. Thank you.
Lovely. Keep well. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. All the best, and we'll look forward to catch up soon.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
What an absolutely fabulous guy Sandeep is. Such humble beginnings.
Oh, he's so unassuming, isn't he?
Yeah.
I love the bit with the fact of, well, you know, I was in Punjab and my wife and I just thought I'd come to England. I couldn't speak English. I can't be a dentist that I've trained to, and I'll go and work in a factory to help
it's
learn
funny,
English.
as he plays it back, it kind of, in retrospect, it all sounds so easy and straightforward.
Yeah.
But they were massive decisions. Massive decisions.
Well, that thing when we had to bring it back with then I bought that. And then I set up a practice in Solihull. And then I had a couple of things in Harvey Nicks in Leeds or whatever it was. And it's, those things don't just happen. You have to do these things.
And also the one where, and we've kind of probed a bit around, and it affects lots of principles, how you ease yourself away from the clinical. So your practice continues to perform, but without you in the surgery every day. And for him, his strategy was, over the course of a year, he reduced his clinical days, passed them to associates, introduced patients to free him up to run the business. And it's not going to be for everybody, but it was quite interesting to hear the process he went through to free himself up.
And you have to do it, because it's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
Because the danger is it's the same old. And, 12 months down the line, he's still doing clinical dentistry.
Yeah, no, he's like I say, although he's laid back, he's really intentional and focused. Really nice man. Really nice guy.
Lovely guy.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.